Elected to the president's office in the midst of the Great Depression, President Franklin D. Roosevelt was met with an America full of impoverished people and a collapsed economy. Roosevelt set out to pull America out of the muck, and one of his legislations included a countrywide minimum wage. Minimum wage was established to protect workers who didn't have a lot of bargaining power for their salaries. Fast forward to today. While it's gone through some changes, it's often inconsistent in buying value. Since July 2009, the federal minimum wage is set at $7.25 per hour, with 3 million Americans that work at or below minimum wage. We believe in the raising of the minimum wage across the country, as it is proven across the board that it is not enough for a person, let alone a family, to get by.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there are over 10 million Americans who earn the minimum wage today. These people put in long hours, play by the rules, and what they ask in return is only a fair chance to get ahead and build a better life for themselves and their families. Today, to those women and men, we say, because you work so hard to do right by America, America is going to do right by you. Today, the minimum wage goes up.
Minimum wage serves as an important part in our economy, but when the pandemic hit, it wasn't enough to help the nearly 114 million people who lost their jobs and almost 8 million people fell into poverty. Accounting for inflation, the minimum wage has gotten far lower in terms of purchasing power. The peak was in 1968, where the minimum wage was $1.60 per hour, which is equivalent to roughly $11.91 today. Is it time for change? Across America, people are debating whether the current minimum wage is sufficient.
The minimum wage today, under which 5 million American workers labor, is not really a minimum wage, it is a starvation wage. We have close to 5 million workers who work 40 hours a week, and at the end of the week, they are worse off than when they began. Mr. Speaker, the standard of living of the average American worker continues to decline, while the chief executive officers of America saw last year a 56% increase in their income. The rich get richer, workers get poorer. Let us raise the minimum wage to at least $5.50 an hour and guarantee all of our workers a living wage. Thank you.
Across America, people are debating whether the current minimum wage is sufficient. Why should the minimum wage be raised? The current minimum wage is simply not enough to survive for many, with some having to work multiple jobs to support themselves, their education, or their families.
You know, minimum wage, when it first was started, was a livable wage nationally, but it didn't really keep up with inflation over time. And so, you know, $15 an hour sounded like a lot of money, but, you know, if minimum wage had kept up with inflation, I think it would have been higher than that even.
Why should minimum wage be left unchanged? Raising the minimum wage would result in a big profit loss and wave of unemployment for businesses, especially the small ones, as they may not have the income to support a higher wage.
It can be hard for any business if you just say, okay, you got to pay everybody $15 an hour starting tomorrow, right? So we actually, I think we eased into the minimum wage over 2 years, and so we raised it so much the first year, and then we went up the rest of the amount the second year. And so that gives businesses a chance to adjust. And I think that's a reasonable thing to do.
Perspectives. The AFL-CIO, the largest federation of unions in America, advocates for raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour because, quote, increasing the federal minimum wage would be a positive step in rewriting the rules of our economy so that it benefits working people, unquote. A Pew Research survey taken in 2019 found that 67% of the population supports raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, with 41% that strongly favor the increase. The Congressional Budget Office estimates that increasing the minimum wage to $15 an hour would result in 1.5 million workers losing their job. Effects on the economy. Research from Center of American Progress indicates a $15 minimum wage will benefit the economy because less people will rely on social safety nets and there will be more circulation of money. On the other hand, some economists worry that raising the minimum wage too high would result in inflation, higher costs for consumers, and an increase in unemployment. How does this affect us? Here in California, we have a $13 minimum wage, with an increase to $15 scheduled for January 1st, 2022. Even minors, like our classmates, get paid $10 an hour. The minimum wage is tied hand in hand with our community, and a rise in the federal minimum wage could mean that more people will be able to afford education to further their careers, people will be more financially stable, and overall happier. Conclusion. The raising of the minimum wage will place more money in the hands of the workers, but it may impair businesses. We believe that the ideal system for setting the minimum wage is one that provides enough money to support a family or workers while also incorporating the living costs and adjusting the wage for each state. All in all, an increase will benefit the people in our community who are trying to thrive, not only survive.